let's move forward now. We are going to have a complete overview of what to expect from the entire course, and I'll hand over to Mehernosh for that. Okay.
So let's get ready to take things to the next level. All right. So let's get ready to discover the trainer within you. The course of TTT has dual objectives. One is to learn advanced language patterns and advanced NLP techniques that will help you to teach whatever you want to teach, including NLP. So the second outcome of this course is that it entitles you to conduct NLP training programs as well. Whatever we've learned in practitioner and master practitioner, we will be understanding how to integrate that in a different level altogether, where we can connect with people, we can transform people, whether it is one-to-one or one-to-many. All the techniques that we have even learned so far, which were about individual transformation. For example, if we spoke about anchoring, we used about anchoring to create anchors for our own self, for managing our own emotions. How can we use anchors to manage or control or influence other people's emotions without necessarily doing a process of anchoring? Which means, bato mein, how can we create anchors? That's just an example which I'm telling you about the fact that how you can use the NLP techniques to transform, to connect with others. So get ready for that, because we are going to understand it from both these perspectives. So even if you say that currently I don't know whether I want to teach anything, I don't know what is my niche that I would like to teach you, that I would like to teach on, all that will be covered where we understand how to figure out or understand what it is that you are best at. Not only that, what it is that you are best at teaching. Not only that, what it is that you are best at teaching that has a demand out there that can get you to get to a certain level of being a trainer, coach, transformer in whichever capacity you want to think. So I'm going to share a slide with you right now, which in the practitioner course we had taken up and discussed in the very, very early stages of the practitioner, which is basically the stages of learning. We had discussed that there are 4 stages of learning. And with respect to something or the other, even today, we are all at some stage or the other. What I mean by that is that there are still certain things that you don't even know that you don't know. No matter how much ever expert you may be, whether it is in your domain of expertise or whether it is in other domains, there are so many things which are still at a level of unconscious incompetence. We don't even know that we don't know. If I ask you to name a few of them, would you be able to name them? Type in the chat box. Would you be able to name those things that you don't even know that you don't know? No, of course not, right? Because you don't even know that you don't know it. How are you going to name it? You can't pinpoint it. But in your journey, as you go ahead, you discover it. Oh, yeah, this was there. Oh, this is also there. And maybe that happened initially when you came across the field of NLP. You didn't know that there's something like NLP before that. That was the stage of unconscious incompetence. In whichever domain you are in, where you consider yourself to be an expert, or you are passionate about that, you're interested in that field, even there, be prepared to uncover and discover new things. And why I'm sharing that with you right now is that is also something which is kind of the qualities required from a trainer or a transformer. No matter how much you know, knowing that there is always something that you don't know. So that is the first stage. The second stage is the conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know. Things which you, out of choice or out of inability or out of lack of resources, whichever way, sometimes it was out of choice and sometimes it's I want to know, but I don't know it. It could be like, and here if I ask you to name things that are there could be multiple things that can come to your mind. For example, all the languages which you don't know, but you know that this kind of language is there, will all fall into this category. Aban mentioned about rocket science. If you are not someone into space and astronomy, even that is something that is at the level of our conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know it. And in NLP, we have learned that how to figure it out and how to understand what to do with if you want to learn more about it, how to get there. The third stage is I know that I know. And this is where you start learning. This is where you start practicing. This is where you're consciously aware that, okay, I am working on it and I am learning. And in the process of learning, I am probably going to make a few mistakes. But I also realize that there is no mistake, there is only learning. There is no failure, there is only feedback. So this is the stage where you are actually learning. In terms of NLP, I think we are all in this stage right now where we are learning new things. We are learning, we are figuring out. And practice is a very important part, very important component of this third stage, which is conscious competence. The fourth stage is unconscious competence. I don't know that I know it. It happens so automatically that I don't even know that I know it. And this is what we have studied in much more detail in the master practitioner. What process in master practitioner helped you to figure out something that was at the unconscious competence level of someone else so that you can acquire it? What was that?
Modeling.
Behavioral modeling.
Exactly. Modeling. So I know some people here are doing master practitioner and train the trainer together parallelly. So we will be using some terminology from that, and wherever I need you to refer to it, I'll explain to you. But basically, unconscious competence is all those things which if somebody would ask you that, how are you doing this so well? Most probably your answer will be, oh, what's the big deal? It just happens. Or it's just automatic. I've not even given it a thought. But the fact that someone is asking you that means that probably it is something which you have that the other people don't have, that they are probably looking up to you for that, or they would prefer to probably learn that from you. But how to learn that from you? Yeah, if they have done NLP master practitioner, if they know how to do modeling, then they can apply the process of modeling and get that from you. So unconscious competence is all those things that you are good at. So naturally that you don't even realize that there is a process, there is a strategy behind it that you are applying. So these are the 4 stages of learning that we have seen so far. There is a 5th stage as well. Any idea what that 5th stage could be?
Guessing, learning by teaching others.
Learning by teaching others. Okay, interesting. Yes. You're on the right lines. Any other thoughts?
By experimenting, self-learning, by doing
Self-learning.
mistakes.
That is conscious competence, where you're learning.
Learning by group learning.
Group learning. Okay, that is just the method that we do. Others know and I don't know. Okay. That is also like what others observe in you and you don't know that you're good at. That is the fourth stage itself. Conscious competence. Sorry, unconscious competence. Okay, so let me share with you what the fifth stage is. When I was talking about unconscious competence, I told you that for others to learn what you are good at, that other person needs to understand the process of behavioral modeling, right? They should know how to ask you the right questions so that you can answer them and they figure out what you are good at. The fifth stage is where you don't wait for others to figure that out in you. You know what you are good at so well that you are able to teach it to others. You know what your unconscious competence is so that you are able to impart that training, that value, that knowledge to the other person. And that is called being conscious of unconscious competence. I know that I don't know that I know. Which means you have reached a stage where you are able to apply the modeling principles on your own self and discover that, okay, what is it that I'm doing so well? How am I doing it so well? And if I have to give it as a model to a student, to a learner, that, okay, this is how you do it, then take this. So whether you consider yourself to be good in the medical field or engineering field or in communication or whatever aspect, when you know that you know something so well and you can put a structure to your own unconscious competence, you can actually deliver it in such a way that the other person gets it. And maybe bato, without telling the person that, okay, this is my meta program and this is my values and beliefs, how do you put it in a way that you deliver the value that is required by the other person, that you want to communicate, that you want to transform in the other person? So these are the 5 stages of learning. And as a trainer, as a transformer, we are going to learn how to get to that 5th stage.
Mehernosh, I understood fifth point, but not understood.
Please ask. It is when you are able to know something so well that you can teach it. Bottom line is that. So because you know it so well, because it is your unconscious competence, you're able to impart that teaching to someone who is willing to learn.
So in other words, you have learned something, you are teaching to others. That time you are uncovering the fact that you yourself knew it all along.
Yes. And you're teaching it because you already knew it all along. So there's a two-way relation to what you just mentioned, Aishwarya. One is as you teach, you are learning. Another is because you know you are so well in that, you learn your own strategies, your own things that work so well for you, and you deliver that. So when we are in the process, as we go ahead, even when we figure out what are we so good at that we can teach, that we would like to teach, it is where the consciousness of the unconscious competence will be used. We'll figure out how to get there, how to find that out. There are processes that we'll understand as we do that.
Okay, if at all I want to relate that with like the example, you are a CA by profession, but you are good at teaching, and that's how you figure it out. I right? Correct. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point and good example there, Chandra. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Right. So I consider that I'm able to teach how to teach because teaching is my unconscious competence. And because I'm conscious of that, I'm able to teach you how to teach. So now moving on from here. as we get into the role of a trainer, a transformer, a coach, one aspect is how do we teach something so well that the other person gets it? And in that attempt to teach, while we are wearing the hat of a teacher, there is one more hat that we need to constantly wear. Any guesses what that second hat is?
Learner.
Yes, learner. No matter how much ever you feel that you know everything and you are ready to teach, the one of the best attributes or attitudes of a teacher is constantly learning. Realizing that learning will happen in multiple ways. Learning will happen even when you're teaching. Because as you teach, you figure out more. And even when you consider yourself an expert in a topic that you have chosen to teach, knowing that probably that field, no matter how old historical background could be there in that field of your expertise, every field continues to evolve. And that only means that you cannot say, "Hey, what I have learned is done. I can put a cap on it and now I can just get into the teaching mode." When you are teaching, you also need to realize that the learning is going to be constant and continuous. So what we are going to see ahead is also to understand this attitude about how to be a teacher and a learner. Which means that when you are teaching, what are the various roles or various points of view that you need to have in your mind as you teach? Any thoughts? From which perspectives do you have to consider when you teach? And as I talk about this, which topic of NLP am I referring to?
Outcome.
Okay, outcome is what you want to teach and that having that clarity. What else?
What is the outcome that you are expecting from the students?
Okay, that is my outcome. Yeah, okay. What else? That is
how,
my outcome
sim-
as
how simple we can make any concept to understand.
yes, yes. So one is the outcome that what I want to teach. Other is how simple can I make it? What is it that will help me to make it simple? When you are even saying this, Sagar, about the need to simplify it and make it simple, what point of view am I coming from? From whose perspective am I going to consider how simple it is?
From the learner.
From student point of view.
From the student point
From
of view.
student point.
So which means that as a teacher, as a trainer, as a transformer, it is our understanding that we have to constantly be shifting from various perceptual positions. The concept I was relating to was perceptual positions, which we have done in practitioner. Right? So in perceptual position, we have done already that there are three positions that we have seen in practitioner. There is the self, there is the other, and there is the observer. As a trainer also, we take three positions. One is the position of the trainer, the outcome that you will have, what you want to teach, what are your learning outcomes, what are your teaching outcomes rather that you want to convey to the students. The other thing which I already mentioned was as a trainer, you are continuously learning. So while you are training, you are also going to wear a learning hat. How do you continuously be curious to explore what else is there in this field, in this expertise which I'm having, and what more can be learned? One is during the training, other is outside the training when you are creating content or um, learning further in the same field, whichever way. The third position here is the learner of your training. Remember one of the presuppositions of NLP? The meaning of the communication is, unmute and complete the sentence. The meaning of the communication is in the response that you get. Exactly. Right? The meaning of the communication lies in the response that you get. Which means as a trainer, you may choose, I will communicate this. But the meaning is not in what you communicate. The meaning is in what gets understood. Which means as a trainer, when you are delivering as well as when you're creating content at all times, how you can be in the perceptual position of the learner who is going to learn from you. And whether it's a group or a class of people, or whether it is a one person that you are interacting with, whether it is your child, whether it is your boss, whether it's your team member, how do you apply perceptual positions on the go? Are you communicating in a manner that the other person is able to understand, relate to? So we will be seeing this as well, because this is something which we have learned as a process so far in practitioner and applied it in master practitioner also in some other techniques. Here as a trainer, in the moment, how do you change your perceptual position from time to time is what we will see. Now, tell me one thing. As you are learning, whenever you learn something new, how do we learn? How does learning happen?
Sometimes curiosity, sometimes necessity.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, curiosity or necessity. That drives the learning.
By
What
listening,
else?
watching, reading, and
Yeah.
doing some
Repeating.
experiments and teaching. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. What else? Yes, that I agree that the best learning happens by teaching, while teaching. I would admit that I have learned much more about NLP after I started teaching NLP. What else? How does learning happen? Okay, by paying attention, by listening,
Sometimes by falling in the pit.
by falling in the pit. Okay, by mistakes, by getting into that experience. You experience something new that you didn't know before, unconsciously. Yes, and that is the keyword, unconsciously. All that most of you mentioned when I asked you how learning happens, whether it's taking notes or listening or watching or paying attention, all these things appear to be conscious actions. And these are things that we are doing. We are applying the representation systems, VACOG. We are learning. And some people prefer to watch, some people prefer to listen, some people prefer to write and do things. There are different kinds of learners, as we will see, and some idea you already got so far. But the crux over here is that no matter how much you see, hear, do, feel, the real learning happens at an unconscious level. And what do I mean by that? Think about all the life lessons that you have got so far. Like Milinji said, falling in the pit. Whatever life lessons you may have got could have been by actual experience. When this happened, you realized and you learned that, oh, this is the meaning of this. This is how I should be doing it. This is what made it work. This is what didn't make it work. And you realize by actual experience. No matter how many classes, how many books you read, all learning is unconscious. All behavior is unconscious. All change is unconscious. Unconscious, by unconscious, I mean that your unconscious mind takes charge of the process of learning. It is not your conscious efforts that make you in charge of the learning. And that is exactly when we say in the classroom that the real learning happens outside the classroom. What are we trying to say? That your manual is good enough, the class is good enough, but if you are not applying it, it's only going to become entertainment and knowledge. Learning is different from knowledge. Learning is when you experience it. Now, how is this relevant to the Train the Trainer course? As a trainer, it is for you to realize that when you are teaching, do not expect the learner to just get it because you said it, or because you showed it, or because you made them do something. The learning process itself is a deeper, unconscious level process. So we will be learning in this course that how to make this learning process deeper and unconscious so that the person at the receiving end learns it in a way that they are able to apply it. So can you think of some of the techniques that you have probably observed me or Pawan using that ensure that you are learning at an unconscious level? Whether it's me or Pawan or any other trainer where you have seen that, okay, what they are teaching you, you have immediately grasped and you have learned it and you have got it. What are some techniques that can help you in learning?
When
Yeah,
you were
Ashwari.
teaching the VAK concept, right? You were talking to us about how we will be talking to an auditory person or a visual person or a kinesthetic person. You had actually demonstrated in every sentence you were telling us, you were showing us those little verbally, you were giving us those words as cues for us to understand the concept even better. That was really interesting.
Yes. Great. Thank you for sharing. Good observation. In fact, this is something I will invite all of you to do from now on. When you attend any learning, of course, you're learning with the learner's hat on, but when you're attending, also put the trainer's hat on. And notice what are those things that the trainer is doing. Good. What else? How else can you ensure that learning happens at an unconscious level? Because you can't wait for people to go out there and experience it. Although we keep saying that, yeah, real learning happens outside the classroom, go practice, go apply it. Yet during the session, what can you do to make it unconscious, deep implanting?
Telling a story using metaphors.
Yes. Yes.
By asking them to explain what they have understood.
Yes.
The aha moments.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm asking you to write the aha moments, we are getting into the backtrack frame and asking you to jot them down. Asking you that, okay, where have you applied this before? Where have you noticed someone who has applied this before? Asking for similar experiences from the audience. True. To ensure that learning happens at a unconscious level, as a trainer, what you need to ensure is that participants are able to relate to what you are teaching.
I have a question here.
Yeah, 1 minute, let me complete. That participants are able to relate to what you are teaching. And there are 2 ways in which you can do this. I'll tell you the broader framework of the 2 ways. How you apply it can be done through activity, through discussion, or just through mental experiments. But let me tell you what are the 2 broad ways that you can do it. Number 1 is by asking the participants to relate to an example from their past. Okay. Where have you seen this work before? Like we do this in Milton model. When I'm teaching the language patterns of influence, I give examples of Tony Robbins, Narendra Modi ji, or ask the participants to think about people who they have seen apply these kind of patterns. Okay, so relating to past experiences. The past experiences could be where they are at the end of applying it themselves, but they have not consciously been able to figure out, which means they have been able to influence with the same kind of patterns, but they didn't know that they were using that. Or the past experience could be by way of observing other people who have done that. And now they are getting the structure of it. Yo, this is what made it. So one aspect is past experience. Another way you can make people relate to it is future pacing. Think about the times where you can apply this in your life in the future. Where would you need this the most? Now, of course, here I'm giving you a broad framework, but during the sessions, we will see that how to actually apply it bato bato mein, where people are able to relate to either the past experiences or the future experiences. And that is the real aspect of unconscious level of learning, which means realizing that the mind does not differentiate between real and imaginary. Real experiences when the mind will actually notice, this I applied it in future and that I made it work. But because the mind does not differentiate between real and imaginary, I can make you imagine right now that you are applying this. And seeing the connect. And then, of course, how to reinforce that application going forward, how to reinforce the learning, all those we will see. But realizing this aspect is very, very critical for a trainer. Yeah, Vidya. You were asking something.
A couple of questions. First thing is regarding, encouraging students to kind of ponder over what it is that they are learning and then kind of going and revising it and looking at it and maybe, having some homework and stuff like that. So, I used to take a lot of notes, in no matter in which class I am in. And I used to take copious notes. And then after that, I felt good that I have taken the notes. That, if at all I need it, I can go and refer to it.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I never look at those notes.
Exactly.
So the question is, should I stop making those notes as a student? And as a teacher, what would you tell a student? Should they take notes? Should they not take notes? Be attentive? That's the question.
Okay, good question. Now, firstly, we need to understand that everyone has a different model of the world. Which means what works for you may or may not work for the others. What works for one student may or may not work for the others. So my advice over here would be not to give any advice that how you should proceed and leave it to the person to the way it is. Generally in class, we say that no need to take notes because the manual is there. But still, if you are comfortable making notes, if that is your strategy of learning, then do it. In your case, Vidya, maybe you will never go back and look at the notes. Maybe that is a pattern you have observed. But the in the moment strategy of learning involves the kinesthetic aspect of making notes. Maybe the outcome of making notes is not about referring it later, but the outcome of making notes is, okay, right now I'm able to understand it better this way. So there is no right or wrong answer. I would say figure out which strategy works. Experiment with different strategies. And same way, just because the strategy works for you, don't tell your students that this is the way you should also do it. Invite them to explore different ways. I hope that answers your question. And that is another thing that we'll be learning in the course, that how to cater to different learning styles of the audience. How to make something which is equally relatable to the learners who prefer to learn visually, to those who prefer to learn auditorily, to those who prefer to learn kinesthetically, and how we can integrate all of that. Going on further, what we will be also seeing is beliefs of a trainer. In the master practitioner, we've already uncovered beliefs, and we've understood that there are no right or wrong, true or false, good or bad when it comes to beliefs. There are only two kinds of beliefs: empowering or limiting. As a trainer, what kind of beliefs you need to have? And most of this aspect is already covered in Pawan's full one-day program of Train the Transformer, which, as we mentioned earlier, it is an integral part of this course. So if you have not seen that, please do watch it. We'll share the link with you in the group. Apart from that, apart from those beliefs of trainer which are covered in that one-day session, a very important role in the beliefs is played by the NLP presuppositions. Remember the 18 NLP presuppositions that we did at the practitioner level. People are not their behavior. Map is not the territory. Mind and body are interrelated. Resistance is a sign of lack of rapport, and much more. How can you imbibe these in yourself as a teacher? No matter what you're teaching, it's not about teaching NLP. It could be anything that you're teaching. And a simple example of different models of the world is in the model of the world of a teacher and the model of the world of a learner. And this is still at a higher level, because when we say model of the world of a learner, different learners are going to have different models of the world. How do you respect the other person's model of the world and still ensure that your outcome is fulfilled? How do you realize that if there is any resistance in understanding, how can you connect it with your own rapport building techniques? Have you applied them? So all that we will be seeing, I would, in fact, start encouraging you to think on those lines. While this will come up in the course further, I want you to start thinking that how would the presuppositions of NLP be connected to the beliefs of excellence of a trainer? So we'll be doing this because this is a part of the inner work as a trainer. Trainer transformer is not only about how you connect with the other person, but what should be your kind of mindset in your inner game. Also, as a trainer, as a coach, as a transformer, we will be connecting it to various levels of logical levels of change. At each of the 6 levels, what is working for you? How do you identify what needs to be worked upon? What changes are required? All that we will be exploring, and we'll learn proper techniques which help you to explore your way forward. Talking about training. Yeah, Aishwarya?
In real life, when you said the differences in the empowering or limiting beliefs, as I had taught some people my domain, I experienced that their belief in themselves is very low. So I not only had to believe that I could do this, I not only had to have that positive thought of I can be empowered to get this done, but I also had to have the thought for them that they are capable of getting it from me. So I had to have that belief for the student as well.
Yes,
and I had to make
yes.
them believe.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And how do you make them believe? That is also very important. Because making them believe just by motivating them, giving them a pep talk will be a very temporary thing. It will work. It will momentarily work. But how to make sure that also happens, that belief change also happens at an unconscious level. Right? We'll see all of that as well. One very important aspect of a trainer is not just the content creation or delivery or connecting with people. When we talk about inner work, when we talk about self-work as a trainer, as a transformer, what do you think plays a very important role? Beliefs is one thing that we spoke about. Belief, mindset. What else? What is it that you need to master and maintain?
Rapport.
Rapport. Okay, rapport is there when it comes to the other person and building those techniques. Yes. But when it comes to self-work,
Awareness.
Okay, awareness is definitely going to be there. What else?
Content. Having content.
Content is one thing. I'm not talking about content or delivery over here.
Self-confidence.
Yes, confidence. What else on the lines of confidence?
Some level of expertise or skill on that domain.
See, there are many people who have expertise, skill, content, and still somewhere something pulls them
Communicate.
back.
Your ability to convey to the other person.
Okay, these are all again the techniques involved in conveying or belief or rapport, but something like confidence.
Energy.
Sorry,
Open to learn.
energy. Okay, Nirupama.
Be open to learn.
Open to learn is the part of the learning that we spoke about. Trainer, learner, switch.
Keep ego aside.
Okay, yeah. Keep ego aside. Be confident.
And be able to teach even when everybody has shut off their videos.
Yeah, yeah. And what does that require? Very good point.
You need to connect with the learner.
Thick skin.
Okay, that's one thing. Okay, okay. Whether we call it thick skin, resilience, confidence,
Focus.
showing up, focus, concentration, whatever we call it, these are all emotional states. What I'm talking about is mastering the state, the emotion that is needed in the moment, irrespective of whatever. There could be times when you are the best of content. You are prepared. Maybe you have delivered hundreds of times also. But something in your head goes for a toss because something happened at home or somebody said something and you get triggered. And then that gets carried forward in your learning state. Right? Happens. It happens in your most important meetings, most important presentations. You have the best of delivery, best of content, and still you were just not in the right state of mind. As a trainer, you cannot let that happen. Which means the key thing required here is mastering your state. And which technique in NLP helps you to master your state? Your emotional state.
Anchor.
Exactly. So anchors, collapsing anchors, which we've already learned in practitioner level itself. How to apply that as you become a trainer. What technique that you have learned from master practitioner can help you to have the right kind of anchors at the right kind of time? It masters what have we learned? Which satir category can you apply?
Leveler and computer.
The leveler mainly. Computer will also have its own use. But the key thing about mastering your state is about understanding how to be a leveler at all times. Irrespective of whatever has happened in your life in that moment, being in the mastery mode and knowing that how to apply the anchors on yourself. In the master practitioner, we have done a leveler kind of meditation of leveler, right? We take that at the next level in the trainer. Because how to actually be the owner of that space, that room, the people, the content, the delivery, and in control and in command of whatever is happening in the moment. That is the role as a trainer. So we learn the art of the state, which is the learner state, the trainer state, how to maintain that, how to sustain that throughout. And remember one thing, become a state-of-the-art trainer by mastering the art of the state. Mastering your state is an art. And that is what will make you a state-of-the-art trainer or professional, whatever field you are in. When you know that you don't allow your emotions to control you, but you are on top of them, you know that you are in control. In Train the Trainer, we will be taking the anchoring also to the next level. I already touched a bit about this earlier, but it is about understanding that the anchors that you set are not only for yourself. How you can set and create anchors for your audience. And in fact, if you look at powerful trainers like Tony Robbins, you will notice that most of these international trainers, when they speak about something on the stage, they talk about a kind of a story of a rags to riches story, or a pain to pleasure story. First, I was like this, and this happened, and that happened. And then ultimately I found this tool and I came out, and then I transformed myself, and now I'm here to deliver this to you, on those lines. Next time you will listen to a session like that on the stage, notice what the trainer is doing. Not just how he is delivering, what language patterns he is using, but what is the trainer doing on the stage. And you will realize that when he's talking about the painful moments, he's at one part of the stage. He will be in one aspect, maybe at the left-hand side or right-hand side, and one part he will be there. And he will talk about this is there, and this happened, and that happened, and things were bad. And then when he comes to the good part, he will move to another side of the stage. And throughout the program, whenever he's going to talk about negative or sad moments or painful points, he'll come back to that earlier aspect. And whenever he's going to talk about empowering moments, he'll go back to the other aspect. What he is doing is basically using the NLP technique of anchoring at an advanced level, which is called as spatial anchoring. Not special, spatial. Anchoring of space. He is able to drive the audience emotions into sadness by being at one side of the stage, and the audience emotion into happiness or ecstasy from another side of the stage. We will see how to do that. In fact, we will also see how to use props like whiteboards or PPTs or pictures, or even pens to create anchors in your audience. So these are some advanced NLP techniques that we'll see on how to connect with people, how to relate to people, how to bring about the emotional management of other people, not only of yourself. So much more coming up. Another question to you. When you deliver a training program, okay, imagine, let's say you have conducted a super awesome training. How would you know that your training has been awesome? Or how would you know that your training, what is the quality or the end outcome of your training? How would you know it?
From the response.
Response that you get, yeah.
They ask you questions.
When they ask questions, yes. What else?
Feedback.
Feedback, yeah.
Their body language.
Yes.
Aha moments.
So, aha moment, yeah. So their feedback, then feedback could be verbal, non-verbal, whichever way, right? You invite for feedback also. Remember one thing, as a trainer, as a transformer, remember this. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. So asking for feedback is one thing which you can definitely do. But more importantly, this relates to being open and being receptive to feedback. Let us say you delivered a wonderful, fantastic program according to you. And one participant comes up to you and says that, this part I did not like. You should have done it the other way. What should be your response?
First of all, we need to acknowledge that, so that, because he has certain feelings about that, and get deeper into his opinions, why he's saying so.
Yeah. Yes.
Accept
Yeah.
with gratitude.
Yeah, accept it, acknowledge it, thank them for wanting to share the feedback. Be thankful for the positive intention behind the need of theirs to share that feedback with you. And then
Implement a change in your approach the next time.
okay. Do you necessarily need to implement that change? Is it necessary? Evaluate that.
Assess, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In the practitioner, we learned how to give the feedback, which is the feedback sandwich. In the master practitioner, we learn how to receive a feedback, especially if the person giving the feedback does not know feedback sandwich and he is being ruthless and hard hitting on you. How do you still process the feedback? We've learned all that. That is internally. But yet, the question here is your relation to the learner. When you are receiving the feedback, I'm not here talking about just how you process the feedback internally, which is about assessing it and realizing whether you really need to implement or not. Sometimes it's not necessary that whatever everyone says, you have to start making changes in your thing, but just you may take a call on that later on. In the moment when you receive a feedback, acknowledge, thank the person, and just receive it saying, okay,
affirm, right? You have to affirm
sorry?
that person, that yes, affirm.
Yeah.
That you will take
Affirm.
it into. Yeah.
Yes, that consider the feedback and thank you for the feedback. All this is what you will do. But what I'm driving over here is basically focused on what you will not do. As a trainer, never defend, never become defensive of somebody else's feedback. Which means don't get into justification mode. What you are saying is right. And I did it like this because I wanted to do it this way. What happens there? There you are cutting off the feedback. Here as a trainer, okay, take the feedback. That also makes you receptive and open to it. So be open to the feedback and be okay to, yeah, okay, we will thank you and we will look into it or we will consider it. And this is an important aspect of the mindset of the trainer, beliefs of the trainer as well. Apart from that, as a trainer, you will observe a lot of role models in your life. Role models when it comes to the right kind of trainers who deliver with impact. Or role models in terms of content that has been created by some trainer or the other. And you say, wow, this is so wonderfully curated. Role models in terms of people who deliver well with a style, with a panache. Wow, how did you do that? Maybe role models in terms of fluency of speaking that somebody uses. As a trainer, yes, as I said, put your trainer's hat on and learn all of this from various other trainers as well. One aspect is about not taking anything as a competition. Right? Being open to the fact that, yeah, there are different people who are doing well. And what can I learn from them? What can I model from them? And while you continue to model the best from the best, keep one thing in mind, that modeling is not copy paste. So don't blindly copy paste someone even if they are doing a fantastic job. Retain your uniqueness, retain your authenticity, and integrate the best of the best within yourself. Integrate that best within yourself so that you are able to bring out the best new combination of what you are already good at and what you have applied from various things. You're creating your own model of success as a trainer, as a transformer. So the bottom line here is, even as you choose to model and learn and continuously grow and improve, be authentic. Being you is all you ever need. Which again relates to the belief of a trainer, which is about removing all kind of self-doubt and replacing that doubt with your faith in your own self, that yeah, you can do it. And yeah, you are applying some things that you're learning, but ultimately it is you that will make the difference. So think about that, how you can start doing that. What is it that is your unconscious competence that you are so good at? And here I'm not talking about teaching what you're good at, but retaining what you are good at in your teaching style. Sometimes when we are teaching, we have our own mother tongue influence in our accent, in the way we speak. And if we are speaking to a group of international audience or a group of audience from a different culture, we often feel kind of a hesitation, a barrier, which is there in our own mind. That, oh, but I have this accent. Will they understand? Okay, you can work on that. You can work on improving reducing the impact that your accent may have, but never work on copying some other accent. That will be seen through, and that will show fakeness rather than authenticity. Which means even if you are authentic in your content, in your delivery, in your inner mindset of teaching, this will appear to be a gimmick. Remember, don't mimic. It's a gimmick. So be careful about that. Be watchful of that. So notice what you're best at, retain that. Even things that you're not best at, while you continue to work on it, let that not stop you. Like initial days when I started making presentations in the corporate world, I used to stammer, stutter. That was my earlier speech defect. I had mentioned about it in the earlier programs as well. But I spoke in spite of that. When you drop the need to be somebody else, you retain your own authenticity. While continuing to work on it. Yeah, work on that. But don't try to copy someone else, because that will take away your uniqueness from it. In the master practitioner, we have done satir categories. We have done these 5 different satir categories: blamer, placator, distractor, computer, and leveler. Right? Which is the best one that we can use as a trainer? Which is the ideal one that we should always be in?
Leveler.
Leveler, right? That is the stage we need to operate from most of the time. Most of the time. Not all the time. Which means, as a trainer, we also need to learn where it will be useful to play the role of the blamer in our training programs. Yes, we will learn all of that. Right? When to play the role of a placator, when to play the role of a distractor also, and when to play the role of a computer as well. So one thing which I've always said is there is no never, there is no always. And every behavior is contextual. That is what NLP teaches us. But that contextualness should come as a choice rather than a default. Becoming a blamer just because you get triggered by someone and you start blaming a participant, that is not what I'm talking about. But by choice, when you choose to shift from a leveler mode to a blamer mode or a placator mode or a distractor mode, when you do that by choice, how it can benefit you as a trainer in ensuring that you communicate and you get across the point that you want to make and teach what you are teaching. So that is also what we will learn as we go further. Remember one thing. While there are different learning styles of people who are there in the audience, some people are visual, some people are kinesthetic, some people are auditory, some people are auditory digital, wanting only logic and computer mode at all times. Some of these techniques you already know at the practitioner, master practitioner level, how to meet them with their representation systems. In Train the Trainer, we are going to get into learning styles beyond just the VACOG. We're going to understand a very powerful model called as the format system. The learning styles of people are going to be beyond just the VACOG. And think about it. As I tell you about this, as I take you through each of these four right now in very brief, think about situations where you have tried to interact with people in a group or even one-to-one. And you have been encountered with one of these four styles of people. First one. There are people who, when they learn, they want to know, why should I learn this? Let's say you are teaching a powerful model of productivity. Okay, or you're teaching some language, whatever it is. And you start teaching that, okay, to be productive, you should be doing this, or you should be learning this, and these are the techniques, these are the processes, this is what you will do. But when you go into that, you will realize you probably switch off those people whose why you have not yet catered to. They will not even listen to you. Even if they're listening, they're pretending to listen because they have switched off. Because they want to know, by why should I be even learning this? Why should I be even listening to you? First tell me that, no, then I will listen. So it's important that you cater to these kind of people as well. They are the why learners. There you play the role of a facilitator to facilitate their learning so that they ensure that they are getting what they want. You have to first create the need for why they should learn. By the way, in the Train the Trainer course, we'll also see that there are broadly two kinds of audiences that you will have. One is the audience who have come by their own accord. They have joined voluntarily. They have paid to join your course. And then there are other audiences who have been sponsored either by parents, teachers, or organizations, like a corporate training program. And very often I have seen that in corporate trainings, when people are just nominated for the sake of being nominated, or they have to just tick mark their learning or training hours, they sit in the program and they are just disconnected because they say, kuch to sikha raha hai, pata nahi, whatever it is. Especially for these kind of people, it is very, very important to drive their why. Drive their why beyond just the formality of sitting in the training. Get them to become volunteers in the program. And how to do that, we'll see. How to address the why even in the flow. So that is a brief about why. Then there are people who say, I don't want to know why I should learn. I already know, I'm already convinced. My convincer is automatic. You tell me, what are you teaching? You tell me the concepts. You tell me the techniques, the tools. What is it called? What is the terminology? Like I've seen sometimes while teaching, even in the practitioner, master practitioner, I'm teaching a sleight of mouth pattern and a person types in, what is the name of this pattern? So they are more interested in the what. What is it? What is there? What is the course content? What will I learn? Rather than the why. There you have to present. The third kind of people are those who want to know how. Don't waste my time in telling me concepts and terminologies and systems and processes. Tell me how I can do it, how I can start getting into action. This is where breakout rooms play a role. This is where the activities play a role. This is where you coach them to perform and do it. The fourth category of people are those who are having a lot of objections. What if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? What if this doesn't apply to my life? What if I find people who are like this? Here you have to help them to evaluate how they will learn, how they will apply. So we will learn in the course that how to cater to each of these four types of learners. Now tell me, who is the easiest one over here? Who is the people who you can easiest relate to, where you can just start teaching and get done with?
What?
What?
No, the
What?
how or how.
The what? What or how? Maybe the what, because you have ready content, you deliver, they are happy. Wow, I got so much of learning. They are the easiest. That is what. How people will want to know that actually how to apply. Who are the toughest ones to crack? Who are the toughest ones to deal with?
What is and what why? I think
What is
both
and
of
why?
them.
Yeah. पहले तो why समझा दो सबको. Okay. Why you can still deal with what if. When there is what. You will learn all of that, how to tackle objections, how to convince people, how to bring them to realize that the importance of what you are teaching them is for them. But when it comes to a trainer, when it comes to beliefs of excellence, there is one more fundamental belief change that is very important over here. I just asked you who are the most difficult set of learners, and most of you agreed it is the what if, right? Let me tell you, what ifs are the most helpful categories of the learners. And that requires a mind shift, a mindset shift. Why do you think? Think about it. Why do you think that what if are the most helpful category of learners?
They think of the conditions where it cannot satisfy, and they are curious to know how will you ever do what is
Yeah.
possible there.
Yes. So how are they helpful?
So
They
in
are
that process,
basically
they,
bringing scenarios. They are
yeah.
basically bringing scenarios, real-time scenarios and challenges that probably
Yes.
we could have not thought about it. And
Exactly.
that basically improves our training methodology. And when we teach the same course again for the next audience, then we can also take this into consideration.
Exactly. Very true. What if can become your what for the next training? What ifs are the most helpful because they help you to bridge the gaps. They help you to probably think of scenarios that you had not thought about. And you realize, oh, this is also there, that is also there. Most of the Q&As in our sessions are what ifs. We will share with you examples about how what if becomes part of the course. So when you get a what if, when someone asks a difficult question or something, that is a scenario that you had not thought about, you can integrate that in your course content going forward. Not only that, a what if can be a germination of a new course altogether. Oh, wow, this is another aspect that we can do. Then we can talk about. And we can create a new course. There is a demand. What if gives you ideas about what can be created further for your audience? They are asking for it. How can you satisfy that need? When we talk about why, we will further get into 3 aspects of why. Why this? Why should my audience know this? Why they should know it from me? Why not from anyone else? And think about it, relate to this with the aspect of when we conduct the first weekend of the NLP practitioner program. We invite people not by calling it neuro-linguistic programming. We have given various names, the art and science of success, the difference that makes the difference. So that creates the curiosity, the intrigue that, oh, I should know this. And when they come in, they realize, oh, what are they going to get? We start telling them why it is important for them. Then we talk about why me, why it is that they should learn from us and not anywhere else. And this is also an important aspect that you need to bridge as a trainer. You may get your audience interested in your topic, but then you may keep it open for them to go somewhere else and learn it. So why me? And this why applies in both the places. One is before you are marketing your training. So we'll be talking about how to market your courses and your training programs as well. We'll be providing you with some resources on that as well. So the why aspect comes in even in the pre-marketing or marketing before the training is happening, and also during the session. Let's say in a corporate program, I have conveyed to people that why my topic of productivity or leadership is important, why this is conveyed. How do I keep them glued to learn it from me on that day rather than opening their phone and looking up on Google? Even that is an important aspect, because why me? Why they should be focused over there? And the third why is why now? Why it is catering to their urgency of learning right now, right there. Whatever we talk about, the important idea is that how can we make things simple? And this is something that you mentioned earlier also. Applying the KISS principle. No matter how much technical your core expertise, your topic may be, how can you make it as simple that even a 6-year-old can learn it? As Einstein says, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So we will be seeing techniques of making your content simpler as well. A very important part about training and connecting with people is about creating rapport in the moment. And how can we create rapport? It's like a dance of rapport. It's like co-creating the outcome in the moment with your participants. So you say something, they will respond, and their response may not be necessarily aligned to what you want to communicate next. How do you still stay in rapport? How do you ensure that your energies are aligned with the training room, with the participants, with the content, and most importantly, with your own self. So let me share an incident over here. When I first began to teach NLP, it was before the lockdown, so I was teaching in the offline world, in the classroom. I started teaching NLP after I got my NLP trainer's training certificate. But even before I got my trainer's training certificate, I was already teaching NLP on an online forum for a coach training institute. I was part of an NLP coach training program where I was teaching NLP, which was part of where the NLP concepts were exactly half of our practitioner course. So things like rapport, sensory acuity, meta model, Milton model, reframing, all that was part of it. So half of the course which we currently have in our NLP practitioner, that I was already teaching as part of the online coach training program. When I launched my first NLP training program offline, I decided to deliver the full course, obviously the way that you have learned it. Now, talking about energies and building rapport in that context, in that first batch of NLP program which I did offline, it was a 6-day program. And the first 3 days was what I was already familiar with in terms of my earlier teaching. As I said, I was teaching for the Coach Training Institute. But the latter half of the program was something new for me. New as in, I had learned it, I had learned how to teach it, but I had never taught it before. So day 4, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable because I was teaching that concepts of anchoring and logical levels and strategies and all for the first time, 6-step reframe, which was not there in the earlier coach training program. So the room setup was such where I was standing and teaching, and the participants were there in front of me with their table and chair in front of me. Right? That was the setup for the first 3 days. 4th day, as I became aware that I was feeling a bit uncomfortable teaching this for the first time, I've never taught it before. What do you think? What I would have done to make myself feel comfortable? One is, of course, anchoring, circle of excellence, वो सब किया, all that I did. Apart from that, what do you think I would have done? Just throw a wild guess. What do you think I would have done to maintain the energies in the room? So I'll repeat, the layout was I'm standing and teaching, and the participants are there sitting in front of me with table and chair. So every participant has sitting on a chair with a table in front of them, and then they have me in front of them.
Use
Did
the
you-
board.
Use the board.
Sorry.
Rita, go ahead. Use the board.
Use the board and
Use the board too. What will the board do?
Would you also have gone and taken a seat at the chair, at the table?
On a seat. Okay. That is one thing. So I'm at least at level with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, what
do
are you saying?
activities.
Two activities were already part of it, which again I was doing for the first time. So what I did was I decided to match my energies with their energies. One way of doing that was to take a table and sit behind that. So at least now I also feel like, okay, there is a protection, okay, a kind of a barrier, and I feel safe behind that. But I didn't do that.
Would you have sat on the table?
No. I removed their tables. So now they were exposed in a way because now they were just sitting on the chair and I made them sit in a round circle now. So first thing their reaction was, can we have our tables back? I said, no, we are just exploring a different style of working. But I match the energies over there in a different way over here. Rather than meeting them where they are, I made them meet me where I am in a different level of energy and space. But these are also some aspects of energy management in the room. So we'll be learning this and much, much more. One thing we learn is that wherever you are, whether it is on the stage, whether it is on the online platform, whatever space you are in, how can you own the space? How can you own that stage?
Real-time application.
Yes. So many times you notice speakers who stand from a corner of the room and they speak, or they are behind the lectern or a podium and speak. That really limits their frequencies and vibrations in the program. When you let go of that and you own that space, you own the audience, literally. Not in a negative way, not in a controlling way, but in a way that you are able to connect with them. So these are some of the things we'll see. We'll see some powerful storytelling methods, which you have already learned in practitioner and master practitioner, but taking it at another level. Like metaphor. What could this picture be a metaphor of? Type in the chat box. Which NLP technique can be used to explain with this picture? People are not their behavior. Okay. What else? As a technique, but that's also a good point. Yeah, people are not their behavior. Which technique where there is an image in front of you and you see a larger than life image in front of you? Swish, exactly. Right? You can use this for your swish. So using visuals, using stories to create a powerful impact. Stories go to a next level in TTT. We talk about creating nested loops. And I will not talk much about this right now. So keep the curiosity alive. And when I'm saying this, I'm actually using a nested loop. Because I'm looping your mind at an unconscious level to think, wonder, and be curious about what is this nested loop all about. Okay, so we will be using a lot of techniques from practitioner. We'll be seeing how to apply the frames. We'll be seeing how to use whatever we've learned at the master practitioner level also here, and much, much more. So before we close and before I ask you for aha moments, let me show you a slide. Thank you for being here. What does this slide indicate? And if I said, thank you for being here, showing you this slide, versus if I said, thank you for being here.
Leave me alone.
So as a trainer, I don't indicate that. But what am I trying to convey? These two different slides.
The first one is most joyful, and the training was well connected, and we all had a very big takeaways, and it was a
Yes.
joyful learning. That was the message.
Let the
Yeah. And the
party
second
begin.
one? Yeah. Second one. Where can we use this?
When your training is related to something spiritual or self-work,
Yes.
Or inner peace, or yoga
Yeah.
retreats.
Yeah. Meditative. Right? Mindfulness. There we use this kind of thing. The idea here is to show that through the visual, through your message, through your tonality, you can actually influence the state of your audience. All right. So thank you for being here. The party has just begun. The journey has just begun. And we have a homework for you as well. And before I hand it over to Pawan for announcements, type in the chat box your aha moments for today.